Hi, everyone. This is the webinar for TCRP Synthesis 126, Successful Practices and Training Initiatives to Reduce Accidents and Incidents at Transit Agencies. On behalf of the National Transit Institute, I welcome you and thank you for participating. The National Transit Institute develops, promotes, and delivers training and education programs for the public transit industry in the United States. We are pleased to have as our presenters today Lisa Staes and Jodi Godfrey of the Center for Urban Transportation Research at the University of South Florida. Ms. Staes leads a highly successful and motivated team that manages a number of transit safety and transit training and workforce development related programs and projects. In addition, she has performed research and managed projects and programs in many areas of transit safety and security, including, but not limited to, bus operator assaults and transit collision mitigation efforts, bus operator simulator training, and the role of simulator training in reducing transit accidents, training certificate programs, and elements of success. Ms. Staes is a member of the Transportation Research Board's Task Force on Transit Safety and Security, is the chair of the American Public Transportation Association's Bus Safety Committee, and is a member of the APTA Bus Standards Policy and Planning Committee. Jodi Godfrey is currently a research associate at the Center for Urban Transportation Research, where she works on the Transit Safety and Workforce Development Program team. Ms. Godfrey received her bachelor's and master's degrees in civil engineering from USF in 2013 and 2015, respectively. She is a member of the Transportation Research Board's Task Force on Transit Safety and Security. Additionally, Ms. Godfrey was named the Tampa Bay Institute of Transportation Engineers 2016 Young Professional of the Year for her dedicated work in transportation safety. Today's webinar consists of Lisa and Jodi presenting their material, followed by a question and answer session at the end. You can participate in the discussion by using the chat pod that is located in the lower left-hand corner of your screen. I can see that many of you have found that already. I'll be monitoring the chat box during the presentation, so if you have a question early on, I will save it for the end when we have Q&A. If you have not already printed out a copy of the presentation, that should have been emailed to you. You can click on the handout document in the upper left corner where it says handouts up there, or you can copy and paste the link in the notes box also on the left side of your screen. You can also email Andrea Lambert. She'll be glad to assist you. Her email is on the left there for assistance. I guess without any further ado now, I will turn the presentation over to Lisa and Jodi.
Great, thank you, Lori. We're happy to be with you today. Good afternoon to many of you, and a good morning to some of our West Coast folks who are joining us on the webinar. Before we get started, I did want to issue a thank you to the 37 survey respondents who participated in this project, as well as our 11 case study sites, our TCRP SA38 topic panel, and of course our TCRP lead staff, Mariella Kohlberg. Before I get started, I just want to reiterate that the purpose of this study was to document successful practices and training initiatives, including those for bus operators, both training and retraining programs. Of course, we recognize that safety does not occur in a vacuum, and mitigation measures are not strictly confined to the training of bus operators. So we also focused on other system approaches that have been implemented to address safety hazards. This includes things like various technology applications, infrastructure modifications, and other programs and initiatives such as driver incentive programs and close call near miss reporting as examples, and you'll hear more about that as we go through the presentation. So the outline for the presentation today, we're going to walk through a little bit of the background and the objectives of this study. We'll talk a little bit about the research methods. I will share the survey results that are documented in the report. Jodi will go over the case study sites and the information that we were able to obtain from our 11 case study participants. We're going to talk a little bit about common threads. There will be a brief section on the lessons we learned through this activity, and then some suggested ideas for future research. So in a discussion of the background and objectives, we wanted to make sure that we identified the definition of safety. This is something that our panel requested of us. It's reflected in the report, but for the purposes of this project, we define safety as the state in which the risk of injury to persons or damage to property is reduced to and maintained at or below an acceptable level through a continuing process of hazard identification and management. Now, of course, MAP 21, the FAST Act, and of course FTA's National Public Transportation Safety Plan that was released in January have really been set the basis of FTA's evolving regulatory narrative. Of specific relevance to this study, of course, the Safety Management System Framework, which of course FTA will enforce through its oversight responsibilities, and the Public Transportation Safety Certification Training Program that really for bus systems is voluntary at this point, but it certainly is it's mandatory for the rail transit, the SSO agencies. Again, the primary objective of the synthesis was to document public transit agency bus operator training programs and other strategies that have been successful in reducing accidents and incidents, hopefully resulting in safer transit systems for the communities that they served. The research methods that we undertook, of course, we did a literature review, and that's pretty common practice for these kind of activities. We distributed a survey, an electronic survey, to 42 transit agencies across the country. We made sure we sent it to agencies representing a broad base of agencies of certain sizes and geographic locations, etc. We received 37 responses, so about an 88% response rate, which was good. We did perform interviews with 11 case study sites. Those interviews began in March of 2016. We concluded those in May, early May of last year. And of course, this final report was issued by TRB in February of 2017. So I'm going to walk you through some of the survey results, and then we'll move on from there, and we'll step into talking about the specific case study sites and the successes that they've had. The survey itself had 28 questions. It was divided into a number of sections. We ask about system characteristics. We ask about their accident review process, the risk assessments that's performed at their agencies, and the processes they use for risk assessment. We ask a number of questions related to bus operator training. We ask them about their use of various technologies, and we also ask about other agency policies, or if there are any particular practices that they felt should be considered model practices for the industry. As it relates to accident review and risk assessment, we did ask them whether or not they had an accident review board or a process in place that assimilated some form of an accident review board. 87% of the agencies that responded to the survey did indicate that they have a formal accident review process with an accident review board or something similar to that. The roles of the review board, 94% indicated that their review boards were tasked with determining preventability. We had 52% who indicated that they do identify areas of risk through their review board participation and process. Most of the time this is based on system data and analysis, but it's also, in the cases of some of these agencies, it also reflects employee reporting systems that they have in place. Does your agency track causal factors? 92% of the agencies that participated did indicate that they do indeed track contributing factors of safety-related events, and in a minute I'll share with you what they've identified as some of those leading factors. Does the agency utilize a database or electronic reporting system? 83% did indicate that they do have some type of formal database or electronic reporting system that they use to track and trend and perform analyses on the safety-related data that they collect. So as I indicated, their accident review process, during that process, they do look at contributing factors and events. The majority of them do look at that. For those that do collect contributing factors and identify those, 78% of those who said that they actually track these contributing factors said that for the most part, 78% of them, the factor that tends to weigh the most in what they're seeing is contributing or causal or human factor related errors. Primarily, it's those that are related to employees not following agency policies or procedures. Distractions also ranked pretty high, as one would expect, and then followed by things like human factors that are more training related and things related to, as an example, not following traffic laws, etc. Some of them did indicate that fatigue was an item for them, an issue that tended to, in some way, affect the safe operation of their system. But for the most part, it was more of the not following policies and procedures, and then the distractions. So we asked them about how they actually gather data related to safety-related issues. What exactly are you looking at to make these determinations? 89% of them both are tracking specific data. They collect data, they're trending that data. They also are looking at accident review reports. A few of our respondents, 68%, are conducting regular internal safety reviews, whether that be annually or at some other frequency. 68% indicated that they are getting information from their employees related to the various risks within the system. And that employee input included things like verbal interaction with supervisors, sharing information, to comment cards. Sometimes it was related to supervisor or dispatch observations, and other times it was things like an employee comment box or something like that, or a place where they could post comments related to something that they've seen on their route or something they experienced. So bus operator training and other methods. The methods that they use, obviously, to mitigate safety, refresher training, 100% indicated that was a method that they used to mitigate safety issues. 97% of the agencies also indicated that those were successful. That particular method was successful for them in addressing some of the risks within their systems. Again, training, just regular, your new bus operator training was, obviously everyone is doing that. 87% of that found, 87% of the agencies found that the training that they're providing to new bus operators is successful in helping to mitigate any potential risks that there might be with new bus operators. And we've had some that have applied some technology applications. We have quite a few of them, 87%, who are also doing safety campaigns and promotions. On the next slide, we talk about refresher safety training. We specifically asked them about, what's the frequency at which you're providing this refresher training, what's some of the content that you're covering when you do this refresher training. 100% of the respondents, as I indicated, did say that they are providing some form of refresher training. 61% offer specifically targeted refresher training. That means simply that if they're having a particular issue at their entity, left turns or mirror strikes or something like that, that particular topic will be the focus of the refresher training that's offered. So we asked them, well, how often do you do this refresher training? The majority of the agencies that responded indicated that they do refresher training on an annual basis. About 36% of them indicated that they do that. We also have about 28% that are doing it at other frequencies, and what other means is we have some agencies who actually include safety training in ongoing, like monthly driver meetings, and so they're doing this in they're utilizing other venues to provide training opportunities for their bus operators. And then there are others who just said that they do it on an as-needed basis, not really putting it into a quarterly or every 6-month category. So the topics that are covered in the refresher training.
Oh, okay, we're back up. Okay, go. Sorry.
Sorry, we had a slight problem with the slides. So the topics that are covered in the operator refresher training, 94% of the respondents indicated that they are covering safety policies and procedures when they do the refresher training. This is followed by 92% who indicated that they are doing defensive driving training during refresher sessions. Distracted driving is also a pretty popular topic that's covered in the refresher training. And customer relations, others including, there are a few agencies that are doing safety incident and emergency management related training, wheelchair securement, some that are doing fatigue and wellness, and then security. And we had some that indicated other. The delivery method that's utilized for the training, the 87% are doing your instructor-led training, in-person, on-site, instructor-led training. 77% are doing the behind the wheel. 48% are doing some call-in dispatch safety training. The instructor-led training, the average for the survey respondents was that this is a topic that's covered about 2.7 times per year across all of the survey respondents. So, it's something that's covered for many agencies a couple times a year, or it's a method that's used a couple times a year. So the next topic related to the use of the various technologies that are available, and the survey asked about a number of these, anything from vehicle tracking systems to vehicle security cameras, stop announcements, EDRs, if there's any type of special treatment on the rear of the vehicles to help mitigate rear end collisions, driver monitoring, pedestrian warning devices, collision avoidance systems, etc. 100% of the respondents indicated that they do have a vehicle tracking system on their vehicles, on their buses. 94% of them have onboard security cameras. Some of the other things, video data recorders, 78% indicated that they actually have video data recorders. These are more of the telemetric drive cam / smart drive kind of systems. There are a few systems that actually have the pedestrian warning devices. About 14% of respondents indicate that they have them on at least part of their fleet, as well as the collision avoidance systems. So we asked them about the relative success they're having in the utilization of these technologies to improve safety within their systems. 42% of our respondents said that they really haven't seen much in the way of improvement based specifically on the application of the technology. But we did have 58% of our respondents who indicated that they have seen some level of success with the application of certain technologies. By far and away, the majority of those who have found successes were utilizing video-based recorders and security cameras. Some indicated some success with the driver monitoring systems. Again, this is more of the telemetric, video-based data recording systems. a few of them actually indicated they had some success in rear vehicle treatments. I know there's a number of transit agencies. It's specifically problematic for our Florida agencies, but I know there are others across the country who have difficulties with and have a prevalence of rear-ended collisions where other vehicles obviously are hitting the back of your vehicle. So there were some who indicated there was some success with rear vehicle treatments. We talked about other agency policies that have been implemented. We talked about outside employment reporting. 71% of the respondents are actually requiring their bus operators to report outside employment. 92% of them, which is 34 of the 37 respondents for the most part, have both distracted driving policies as well as operator hours of service policies. The survey went into a little bit more detail related to the operator's hours of service policy, whether they're following federal motor carrier, et cetera. And of course, that can be more information on that you can find in the research report itself. There are a few systems who are also requiring over-the-counter medication use to be reported. About 69% of the survey respondents did indicate that they are requiring their bus operators to report the use of over-the-counter medication. So, in summary related to the survey, the model practices specifically, the responses included, it was very clear from the survey responses and including some of the write-in responses that regular structured training is of critical importance. Refresher training is very important, remedial training for your bus operators, organization-wide accountability across all levels of transit agency staff, updating back to the training topic, making sure that your training materials are up to date, close collaboration between operations and safety in the development of curriculum, in working with them to identify areas of issue that should be addressed through training, etc. Making certain to include the labor union from the very beginning of new training products, the implementation and of new technologies, etc. This was something that was voiced many times by survey respondents. We also heard it a lot from our case study sites. Proactive risk assessment. This includes, this basically is, making certain that you have a robust data collection activity effort, that you're keeping track of this data, that you're monitoring the data, that you're analyzing the data, that you're trending. Employee reporting, of course, another proactive risk assessment tool that a number of agencies are using. The holistic investigation of incidents continue to be voiced through both the survey checkbox kind of responses as well as the write-in responses that we received. This prevalence of a root cause analysis and understanding all of the elements that affected a particular collision as an example or other incident. I think the big takeaway from our survey respondents was that there truly is no one solution that's going to prevent or reduce transit safety incidents or risks. It's important to put a number of these elements in place to make sure that you're improving the safety of your organization overall. So with that, I think we're going to jump into our case studies. And I'm going to let Jodi do that.
Yeah, so thank you so much, Lisa. So I just want to reiterate Lisa's thankfulness, especially to our case study interviewees who spent hours on the phone with us answering our tedious, repetitive questions. So the case study agencies represent both small, medium, and large-size agencies with also a great geographical distribution, as you can see from the figure shown on the slide. And I'm going to cover each of the agencies briefly, kind of highlighting the most important aspects or most interesting aspects that came out of the interviews. So in alphabetical order, Charlotte Area Transit, CATS, is the first agency that we'll cover. They indicated video surveillance as the most effective technology application in use. They said that it helps to substantiate complaints, identify poor driving behaviors, preemptively address issues before incidents occur, which they said is invaluable, and also they use the video surveillance for training purposes, which is a common theme among many of the case study agencies. Community engagement was also reported as very successful. CATS has very comprehensive community engagement. They have their International Bus Operator Appreciation Day, where passengers are encouraged to thank the operator for everything that they do. They said that really helps improve morale among the operators. They also have the Personal Responsibility Safety Campaign that asks the public to take a pledge to stay alert and avoid distractions. And most notable to me was their CSay app, which enables riders to alert transit police if they see something of concern. And the transit police immediately have all of the data available of what bus is concerning and where the location of that bus is. So the figure shown shows the CATS preventable bus incident rate, which has been steadily decreasing since January of 2014, which is especially significant given their increase in ridership, their increase in population, their improving economic growth, and the massive amounts of construction that are going on in Charlotte. So we'll move on to the City of Madison Metro Transit. They totally revamped their training. They increased their focus, their training focus on driving, and they described the benefits of having as few as 2 trainees per instructor per bus. This allowed for not only the reduced class size, but more time behind the wheel. So the trainees get at least 4 to 5 hours of behind the wheel per day of training, and they've also allotted more resources to training, including buying buses and hiring more trainers. Their annual refresher training was really interesting. They have a roundtable discussion structure that they titled the Madison Metro Safety Roundabout, where they gather information from all of the bus operators of their risks or concerns, and then focus the training, the refresher training, specifically on those concerns from the bus operators. And they said that that also helps really build morale and makes them feel appreciated and that they're listened to. So they also launched the Safe Street campaign, which is which released close call videos to increase education and awareness among the general public. And all of their initiatives have resulted in a 24% reduction in preventable collisions between 2008 and 2015, which can be shown on the figure there. So moving on to Greater Bridgeport Transit, they hired 2 new safety positions, the Manager of Safety Training and the Manager of Transportation Operations, who work very closely together. The new bus operators must complete qualifying training to ensure that they're capable and familiar with the routes, and they're quizzed on every route in the system prior to being released on their own following training. They also have a defensive driving course, which is a 4-hour-long course required of all new operators, and can also be selected by existing operators in which they receive a discount for their personal vehicle insurance. Safety vision and onboard surveillance coupled with AVL allows managers to fully understand safety events. An additional benefit was the ability to provide law enforcement with videos after a robbery occurred on a bus route. So they were able to pull the videos from the bus and provide it to the police to help them in their investigative efforts. GBT identified teamwork as their most successful practice and attributes their improvements to a combination of many initiatives. Like Lisa said, many of these things don't happen in a vacuum, and so it's a combination of many initiatives that have led to the improved preventable rate since the initiation of the restructuring in 2012. Also mentionable GBT was awarded APTA's Bus Safety and Security Award for agencies with more than 4 million but fewer than 20 million passenger trips annually in 2017. So congrats to GBT for their continued success. Moving on to Greater Cleveland RTA. They have a telemetry-based driver monitoring system installed fleet-wide in 2014, which they indicated have led to significant reductions in unsafe driver behaviors, reductions in posted speed limit violations, reductions in red light violations, and also improved seatbelt usage. They have an open and honest dialogue with all employees, which include a safety hotline to report concerns or suggestions, which can be anonymous, or you can leave your name to receive feedback. They also have the non-punitive hazard reporting policy, and reporting is encouraged. And they say that that follows their relentless pursuit of improvement. They also recognize and reward employees for exceptional safety performance. They have an annual awards night and rolling trophies, which are awarded to districts for the most improved driving or collision rates. The teamwork between safety and operations and the consistent agency-wide understood definition of safety really contribute to their improved success. And the figure shows the two busiest districts at RTA's preventable collision rates over 3 years. Moving on to the Jacksonville Transit Authority. They also installed a telemetry-based driver monitoring system in 2015, which resulted in a 50% reduction in unsafe decision-making and a 40% reduction in judgment errors and traffic violations. Additionally, they reported a 90% reduction in the riskiest bus operator behaviors in just the first 9 months. JTA had the Keep It in Your Pocket Distracted Driving campaign, which was pledged using social media and car sales places and rental places, and they tried to educate the public. This has all led to reductions in preventable and non-preventable collisions and reductions in injury liability and property damage payouts. JTA was one of the few transit agencies that were interviewed that use a training simulator, and they use it primarily for new bus operator training, but they also use it to a limited extent for post-accident remedial training. They said that the most useful part of the simulator is that the drivers have the opportunity to associate muscle memory, reaction time, problem solving, decision making, and judgment all at the same time, and they can repeat the situations until the proper actions and reactions are automatic without the repercussions that would be associated with the same scenarios in the real world. And so this figure is showing the preventable and non-preventable incident rates from 2012 to 2015. And this shows also the preventable and non-preventable collision rates from 2012 to 2015. The next case study site was Kansas City Area Transportation Authority, KCATA. They initiated the 5-point plan, which they highlight the 5 E's, which began in 2013. So the 5 E's, I'm sure many are familiar with the 3 E's of engineering, education, and enforcement. And KCATA added the encouragement and evaluation as the 4th and 5th E's, with the objectives to eliminate pedestrian collisions, reduce auto liability costs, reduce onboard incidents, and reduce bus collisions, and it has been successful. The targeted focus on pedestrian awareness and hazards of blind spots is the focus of new refresher training. And also they have a pedestrian safety week and pedestrian safety tips, which are communicated throughout the agency. KCATA's bus fleet was retrofitted with accelerometers to monitor the operator driving behaviors. They also have an evaluation program with metrics that are monitored and tracked. And they increase discipline and policies with associated enforcement. The Safety Suggestions Program came with a recognition and rewards for employees who promote safe driving behaviors. KCATA is another agency that uses the simulator for training, and they reported it as absolutely effective and even found that it was able to identify color blindness in some new hires. KCATA also suggested that their passenger and pedestrian safety campaigns and programs be considered model for agencies across the country. So some of the things that they have done, they've developed a passenger code of conduct with safety rules, which are enforceable. They have the pedestrian safety week in May of each year. They encourage walking with safety in mind with pedestrian safety tips, which are communicated throughout KCATA's Transit Talk articles. They also adopted FTA's Be Alert and This Is Yours campaigns. This figure shows that the total bus collisions have decreased 10% in 2015 as compared to 2014, and they actually break out collisions with pedestrians by location type by year. The most impressive of KCATA's total claims paid on this next slide is a 92% reduction from 2012 to 2015 on total claims paid. And they also reported a 58% reduction in auto liability claim performance rate. So next we'll highlight the successes of King County Metro. So King County has the mandatory annual refresher training for all bus operators with a specific focus on pedestrian awareness and also include distracted driving and left turn movements. They had an upgraded ride check program to ensure that operators are using the proper safety practices and to reduce practical drift. The statistical analysis focusing on the times and locations of accidents is used to alert the operators of where to expect the greatest risk, so that risk analysis is being performed regularly. They also recruit and develop senior operators as safety champions and use them as mentors for some of the younger or less senior operators. And they also have an operator assault reduction initiative. King County's focus on pedestrian events are the base of safety meetings, both collaboratively and individually with operators. They have an examination and piloting of technology applications and other strategies, including audible bus turn warnings, strobe lights, automatic braking, and warning decals on the side mirror frames to remind operators to look for pedestrians. As of February 2016, 44% of their buses were equipped with audio and video on the entire fleet is to be outfitted by 2021. They've also enhanced their employee communications. One of the specific things is their outhouse journals, which are a safety reminder posted on the restroom stalls to remind operators at all times that safety should be on their mind. All of the initiatives undertaken at King County Metro have led to a reduction in both preventable and non-preventables, a significant reduction in pedestrian incidents, specifically 35% between 2013 and 2014. In 2014, their overall liability claims reduced 8%, and the claims cost reduced 39% from the 2013 period. And they credit their success to vigorous and focused safety meetings, training, and follow-up on safety issues, the open communications policy, and the ability to contribute through committees and working groups. Moving on to Lane Transit District, our next case study site. They had an agency-wide focus on customer service. Specifically, customer service attributes are more highly valued than years of driving experience. And as such, they advertised for new operator positions in the customer service category rather than the driving category. They've identified the Smith driving system as highly effective, attributing a 27% decrease of accidents since its implementation. LTD performs a monthly review of all accidents, both preventable and non-preventable, that occurred during the previous month, with incident photos and videos to initiate discussion among operators to give them both the what went wrong and also the what went right perspectives. They've mentioned that visualizing the impacts of the major collisions and the heartbreaking incidents, specifically on LTD passengers, made a very strong impression on their bus operators. LTD attributes their success to their GM support. Their human resource director, who has regular meetings with union leadership and fosters inclusiveness and transparency. The figure on the bottom of this slide shows that the total and preventable accident rate at LTD has decreased consistently since 2010. And the asterisk, the raise in 2013 was due to icy conditions and snow. And this figure also shows a longer-term trend, which again emphasizes that reduction in accidents and incidents, again with the asterisks indicating icy and snowy conditions. Moving on to SolTrans by National Express. SolTrans reported the Smith driving system also as very useful. They mix behind the wheel time with classroom time each day in their new operator training, and they describe that as a way to increase the retention of the training. They also suggested a national standard of a minimum of 20 hours of behind the wheel training required for new operators, while they currently require 25 hours. They focus on treating employees as internal customers, and so that really also helps build the morale among the operators. They've had a 71% decrease in incidents from the first 6 months of 2013 to the end of 2013. And passenger falls and employee injuries also decreased by 75% and 66% respectively. And their safety trends continue to improve. The figure on the left shows the total accident and preventable accident rates. Total accidents decreased by 52% between 2013 and 2015, and the injury rates decreased, total injury rates decreased by 65% during that same time frame. TriMet is the next case study that we'll focus on. They sharpened their focus on pedestrian collision reduction using community outreach like Be Seen, Be Safe, and Be Alert, Be Safe, with some really catchy materials that they've distributed. They also, the Be Seen, Be Safe is rolled out every fall when daylight savings ends to remind the general public that it's getting dark earlier and to make sure that they're wearing reflective clothing. Safety is reported as the core value and the lens used to make operational, planning, and strategic decisions. So safety is always at the table, and decisions are never made in silos. They also have the Safety Education Advisory Committee, which the TriMet personnel and community representatives plan safety campaigns to promote safe interactions with vulnerable road users. They have the Transit Change and Review Committee, which reviews every accident to determine if there are organizational factors that influence collisions. So they're looking for trends and really applying a holistic analysis. They have the Task Force on Safety and Service Excellence, which was created to initiate an independent, holistic review of its safety culture. And the task force was tasked with determining how to migrate TriMet to the highest levels of safety performance, thereby improving the performance in all areas of its business. Again, they emphasized that training and safety are not mutually exclusive, but go hand in hand along with customer service. And the TriMet collision rates can be seen in that figure. The Utah Transit Authority, UTA, installed smart drive camera systems in 2014, which they identified as impactful in identifying unsafe driving behaviors, also for incident investigation, for coaching bus operators. They use it as a training tool both for refresher and remedial training, and they also use it to collect data for analysis. Another interesting technology that UTA applied to the rear of the bus was a camera and an illuminated yield sign. So the red arrow there is pointing to the sign that shows up, that lights up yield as the bus is trying to yield, and the orange arrow is pointing to the cameras that were installed on the rear of the buses. For UTA, their training, they also have new hire and annual recertification, which is consistently evaluated and modified as needed. So they say that their training is not nearly as effective if it's not updated regularly. They require 16 hours of refresher training as of 2016. They also have a public ordinance which allows UTA transit police to ticket distracted behavior near their rail lines, which I found really interesting. And so from 2012 to 2015, they've had a 36% reduction in avoidable bus collisions and also a 9% reduction in the number of claim payments made by UTA. So we'll move into some of the common threads among the case study agencies. All of the case study agencies have adopted and enforced distracted driving or wireless distraction policies and procedures, with the majority of the agencies following a zero tolerance for these violations. They all applied multiple approaches in addressing areas of critical safety concern. So again, nothing is a silver bullet or is necessarily successful on its own, but holistically together is definitely making ways to improve the safety of the systems. All case study agencies work across teams to improve transit safety and report that their safety culture is set by their CEO or GM. They also perform thorough accident and incident investigations and utilize audio and video recordings in their examinations. They have a structured process for data collection, analysis, and review, and they provide regular comprehensive refresher training for their operators, most on an annual basis, but many more on monthly or quarterly. Again, the use of onboard video and audio recorders in refresher and remedial training and counseling sessions was stated as extremely valuable. Each agency recognizes the value of their employees to their organizations, treating them as internal customers, and really listening to them definitely improves the morale. Giving each operator the opportunity for input and engagement, such as the roundtable discussions, has also been found to be very successful. And for the case study locations that use telemetric operator monitoring systems, they discuss the value of these systems for modifying driver behavior and improving system safety. So the table on the next two slides just kind of highlights the similarities between each of the case study agencies. And with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Lisa for the lessons learned as a conclusion.
Okay, thank you, Jodi. Lessons learned. Successful programs are generally those that have a multi-pronged or multifaceted approach, coordinated efforts to address transit safety across agency departments. Everyone is sitting at the table. The importance of recurring refresher training could not be overstated by our case study agencies. Each agency indicated a level of success in their safety improvement programs, And the majority of those actually reported training as the central element, that core element that improves safety of their organizations overall. They did indicate that if incentive programs are used in conjunction with a strong safety management plan and approach, those incentive programs can be successful in improving the safety of the system, the morale of your transit agency personnel, and the employee-employer relationships. It really increases the focus on positive behavior and positive interaction. Working closely with members of the labor unions when implementing new programs, procedures, or technology applications is important. It could not be stressed enough by our agencies that unions must be involved early. They must be at the table. Technology applications and associated tools, they help agencies contribute to a better understanding of past events and behaviors that could be causal or contributing in future events. Many of them also indicated that it is a way to identify leading indicators of risk for the system. It's important to give technology applications a sufficient trial period. If you identify these technologies, you deploy these technologies, you must understand that you really need to be recognize that you got to be in it for the long run. That you have to have this mentality also that the programs that are overly punitive are not particularly successful, and so you need to not focus too much on programs that have that are overly punitive in their basis, and consistently deliver a message that reminds your employees why we are doing this and what the costs are. If we don't, if our programs are not safe, there are repercussions to that, not only for the agency but for the communities within which you operate. So some of the additional information that we were asked to address was related to the research that could or should be conducted as follow-on to this particular research effort. We've heard a lot of anecdotal information about the use of simulators and their successes from a number of agencies. But we really need more data points. The team felt strongly that longitudinal research on the effectiveness of simulator training over time, more data points available for analysis and potentially statistically significant results will not only help the industry understand the benefit of this particular technology, but it also helps when your transit agency personnel want to move into the procurement of these systems and get get those procurement activities approved by their operating boards or policy boards or what have you. So having documented successes of the use of simulators for training purposes would be very important. An evaluation of public outreach programs and other strategies designed and implemented to increase the awareness of the public, including automobile drivers, pedestrians, and cyclists, cautioning them of the dangers of distraction and other contributing factors that are present in collisions with transit buses. This is something that we continue to see. Rear-ended collisions is one of those things where a bus operator can really not avoid those. It's somebody striking the back of your bus, oftentimes because they were distracted. We see a number of these activities, these incidents and collisions that occur because drivers in the other vehicles aren't paying attention to what's going on around them. Some of the agencies that have actually implemented programs such as this community awareness, has been very helpful in improving the safety overall of their systems, and we think that an evaluation of these public outreach programs and perhaps some lessons learned or some specific recommendations for the transit industry would be beneficial. We also heard quite a bit of discussion from our case study agencies, and actually you hear this in a number of other venues as well, the successes that transit agencies are having with these telemetry video-based type monitoring systems. These are the drive cams and smart drive and those type of systems. We would recommend an independent assessment of these systems, identifying that it could be valuable in evaluating the effectiveness of the systems in reducing safety risk and improving driving behavior, again, in an independent closed study environment. So with that, I guess we're open for questions.
Okay, so I guess what I'll do is I'll start back at the beginning. I jotted down some notes. Way back around slide 13, Mike Aziz asked, who in each transit company is represented on the review boards? In other words, the breakdown of management, training staff, etc.
So that varied by agency. Excuse me. That varied by agency. I believe there is a section in the report. Let me fumble through real quick. From what I remember, they ranged from 1 to several people.
Oftentimes you would see, obviously, most of the accident review boards would include something like, your director of operations, your director of safety. Usually somebody from the unions are represented. Sometimes it even included maintenance personnel. Someone, in shops that were not unionized, it would have a driver representative as an example. So there was great variation in who was actually sitting on the accident review board. In agencies that actually have safety and risk departments, you would see both of those groups represented in the accident review board. So it was, I think we had some accident review boards that were up to like 9 or 10 people. So I guess in answer to your question, it's quite varied. You almost always saw someone, either the director of operations or an operations manager or superintendent, as well as if it's a union shop, often there was a union representative that sat on the accident review board. Clearly someone from safety, I think, was represented in all of them. And if there was a risk department, there was usually somebody from risk. Now, I think there are a couple of examples where it might not be the GM necessarily sitting at the table, but it might be, an assistant general manager or something like that, someone at that particular level. But there was great variation in the number and in who was sitting at the table in the accident review boards.
Okay. Around slide 17, another question from Mike Aziz. What is the duration average of the refresher training, and is it 1 per year?
So again, that varied by agency. Let me look at the slide.
If you want to, we can go back to slide 17 if you think that would help. I tried to jot down where we were when the questions came up.
I'll slide back.
I can do it. You got it?
Okay, so that was still in the survey summary. So we asked them that, however, whoa.
I'm moving very slowly. My apologies.
Oh, you can click here. And you can go back up, scroll up. Sorry.
Sorry, we're having a little technical difficulty here.
So again, that varied by agency. Some said as little as 4 hours, and some were as high as 16 hours. And the number of times per year also varied by agency, anywhere from once every 3 years to monthly.
Okay, so I guess you're done answering the question. There was a question from the CATS case study from Amy Dooley. It was a question regarding video surveillance used by Charlotte area transit. Does CATS conduct random video surveillance on all drivers or only for new drivers?
All.
That was a succinct answer. Mike Aziz had a question from the UTA section. He wrote, so 16 hours of refresher training for this UTA property. What about an average of all case study properties?
We did not average the case study responses. We only averaged the total survey responses.
Okay, the next question was from Lewis Brown. It was around slide 68, 69. Was the topic of fatigue risk management raised during the survey? Do any of the agencies screen for sleep apnea or include fatigue in fitness for duty as a mitigation for accidents and incidents?
I don't believe we covered fatigue. So we asked questions of the case study sites during the specific interviews, and any of their responses are in each given case study site section in the report, which is available, TCRP Synthesis 126. However, we did not ask in the survey any specifics about fatigue management or fitness for duty.
The only related question we had in the survey was as it relates to causal or contributing factors. And there were a few agencies who indicated that fatigue was indicated as a causal or contributing factor in a number of their events.
The next question was from Norman Schenk. Did any of the case study agencies already have in place a complete SMS program?
No.
Okay. Dave Finnell asked, what is a vehicle treatment? Rear vehicle treatment? This was mentioned on slide 20.
So any lighting configurations, such as the yield light that was added to the back of the UTA bus, the cameras on the back of the bus were another. We also asked if they advertised on the back of the bus to see if there were, if they found any kind of contributing factors from advertisements as distractions.
Reflective, retroreflective taping would be another example.
I think that covers the majority of the rear bus treatments.
Sometimes people were asking each other questions, so I'm not sure if this was sort of a cross conversation going on. I don't know how much.
So we have a lot of people who are from our case study agencies because I've seen a lot of questions back in.
Oh, okay.
Which is great because they're answering questions about their own agency, which is wonderful.
That is well. So this, I'm not sure if it's related. Or Pat LaCourse and Nate Moldan asked, to your knowledge, is there any place in Minnesota that has a bus simulator? But that might have been part of a conversation. I don't know. Is that something you can answer, or do you think that was?
I honestly, I don't know, but there could very well be. That's something that, I mean, is there a way that we can look up information and get back to people who are on the call and asking these questions? Because we could certainly follow up.
Well, if they have questions, we could certainly put back the last slide that had your email addresses on it, if you don't mind them contacting you with questions. I put that back up. Is that all right?
Perfect.
That's great.
Okay, so anyone who has questions that either don't get addressed during this call or come up later or for any reason, you can contact Lisa and Jodi, and they will be more than happy to answer your questions.
Yes.
Matt Miller, around slide 46, asked, could we get a more detailed explanation, written or oral, on the King County Metro Operator Assault Re-Education Initiative?
We can get that for you and provide it. If you want to email me, we can pull that information or ask King County for that information and get it to you. Yeah, we can get that information to you, and then I don't know if others who might be interested, we can forward it to them as well. If they email me or Jodi.
Okay, great. I think it looks like Matt Miller was still on there, and it was his question. So Matt, get in touch with Lisa and Jodi, and they will help you out. again, I don't know if this was cross-conversation, but Ben Gribben said, also related to bus operator training, what is call-in/dispatch training?
Training for the dispatchers within the transit agency.
Okay, Steve Eder said, maybe they were all talking to each other, I don't know. They said, what other topics, if any, other than safe driving related topics are included in refresher training? I guess that could be.
I had that, it was on slide. Getting that. Of course,
Do you want me to
there's
go back to
no
the
detail in the reports, but I can tell you that, let me get the survey out here.
Safety policies and procedures, defensive driving, distracted driving, customer relations, emergency management, wheelchair securement, fatigue and wellness, security, and then other. So other was kind of anything else that was included. I think that answers the question.
I think so. Ben Gribben is typing
What
such
other?
as and what other. I don't know if that was.
Ben, if we can actually, we'll go back to this. So I don't know if we had some write-ins that may have said what other meant, or some may have just checked other. But we'll go back and take a look at that, and we can send that information to you. If you'll just send me your email address. I think I have it, but if you'd reach out and either email Jodi or me, we'll make sure we can get that to you.
Okay, Ben said okay. I actually got to the end of the questions that I pulled out of the chat box. So if anyone else has any questions, please get them typed in there, which is the way to get in touch with us right now, live. Anyone? I don't see any typing. Oh, it says multiple attendees.
If they think of anything that, any particular questions, Jodi and I they can email us, and we can either respond via email or we can have a phone conversation either way, if there's any additional questions that participants have.
Okay, so final live questions going once, going twice. Okay, that's it. Thank you, everyone. We really appreciate you participating in this webinar. I also want to extend a special thank you to both Lisa and Jodi for this very informative presentation. Everyone who can still hear me, as a reminder, you will be receiving an invitation for an evaluation for this event. I would appreciate your feedback. This is the first time I've done the audio through the computer, so I'd like to get feedback on how that went rather than dialing in for the phone conference. I don't think it stopped the questions from coming in, but NTI and me as well, myself, really appreciate any feedback. So I guess that's it. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.